I'll call the meeting to order. And we'll stand through the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, do I hear a motion to adopt tonight's agenda? I'll make that motion. Minutes are attached to that too.
Well, one said, I think.
I think that's the same. Minutes are attached. The motion to adopt tonight's agenda. Do I hear a second? Second. Any comments or questions by the board? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Before we start now and going on into this, does everybody here know everybody? Should we go around and
pretty much
do names?
Yeah, I know faces, but not all names.
We'll go right around. I'm Jeff King.
Peter Satwood. Big Start. Paul Donaldson.
Sarah Pelkey.
Bob Williams. Redley. Steve A. Joe DeBonis.
Valerie Broughton. Jerry Anderson.
Ben Thurfield.
Joe Watts. Joe Poirier.
Gotcha. Okay, everybody. That's who we are. Okay, and tonight we have do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of our last committee meeting from 5/6/2024?
Make the motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions by the board? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Minutes are approved. Further discussion, review and discussion of bids. Where are we going?
So the bid deadline was last Friday, I think 4 p.m. We received no bids. I think I told the board, although the 4 members that are new to the board, I received one inquiry about the amount that we solicited in the bid, expressing their thoughts that it was way underfunded compared to what they thought it would take to do the project. We had based the bid, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sarah, the bid amount on what we thought was a fairly recent merger study that was undertaken by another community in Vermont, and we used that number as our basis, and it was, in fact, the company that reached out and said this is way underfunded was the company that did that other merger study, consulted on it, and it was, the number they gave me was significantly higher than what we thought it would be.
You've got it.
So to interest parties to bid on this, we have a $10,000 budget right now that we have for a grant.
We have $11,530.
$11,530.
I think last time I brought it up in the meeting, I was reticent to mention the amount, short of being an executive session, given that I would consider a contract matter. I just don't know if it's prudent to put on the public record what that company said, X amount of dollars, because I wouldn't want some other company to say, well, geez, if they're going to.
It wouldn't be fair to bidding.
Well, I don't know. I think Sarah was going to try to explore whether or not, and if you want to speak, or I can speak for you.
Sure, I'll speak. So when I wrote the grant application for the municipal planning grant, part of the grant writing process is to be in touch with the agency, ACCD, I think it is, that has MPGs, and just to talk with them a little bit about what you're planning to do, and to also provide cost estimate for the scope of work that you developed. The scope of work was based, the cost estimate was based on the scope of work and two different hourly rates that I had, one from a local contractor, a consultant that does essentially strategic planning, and the other was the hourly rate based on the Regional Planning Commission's fees that they charge. So I went with a middle rate between those two because the consultant was really high, and the RPC was on the lower side. So that's how I ended up with the cost for that scope of work. But I think, you know, the first thing that I would propose doing is going back to the granting agency and just talking with them a little bit about what's happened, to see if they have any recommendations.
Who is the granting agency?
It is, sorry, I'm looking at the grant application right now.
I think it's Agency Commerce and Community Development.
I think so too.
Which is the state of Vermont agency.
So would we, if you went back to talk to them, would we have to, write another grant on top of this? Is there a deadline? Multiple questions.
So it's Department of Housing and Community Development, which is within the Agency of Community Development, Commerce and Community Development. So, sorry, what was your question, Jack?
A couple of them, multiple here. The money we have right now on this, is there a deadline for that money?
2 years.
2 years. Okay. To get another grant, would they be open to us if we applied for a different grant or increase this grant?
To the best of my knowledge, this is the only grant that I've been able to identify that would fund a merger study, because part of what the scope of work is asking the committee and the two municipalities to do is start to use this information towards capital planning. So that is part of why they would fund this. I don't know a lot of other funding sources. You know, that is something that we probably would want to look into if we want to do that. But I also think because the amount that was written to us is so far from what we have for grant funds right now, that maybe we want to look at the scope of work together more thoroughly to decide if this is really the approach we want to take to the voters' petition.
Should we actually go into executive session to see where we're at, so we know how much it is and what we need to do? I mean, isn't that maybe the first step to do this? I don't know. I mean, we're talking about this much, but we don't know what this much is, and
yeah,
I'm guessing, thinking that, I don't know.
We're going to need to know that number so we know what we're up against. And that should not, to your point, be publicized, because that is not fair to the bidding process. That gives a leg up on people. As you put a top number out there, somebody can go, oh, hang on. It's not a good way to bid. But,
do we have a top number though? I mean, do we even know, like,
well, we'd have to find out through an executive session to know what that top number is, from what I'm hearing, Cheryl.
And I think we can discuss it a little deeper once we're into that session, I think. I don't know.
But before we go into the executive session to do this, which he just said, if you don't mind, maybe we should talk about, because this doesn't need to be an executive session, how would a road to get to where we want to go to get that kind of money? Where would we look for this stuff?
One suggestion that I have is, while the village has obligated all of their ARPA money, the town has not obligated all of their ARPA money. That's one additional source of funding I've considered. And I thought it out a little bit in that, if someone might say, well, how come the village isn't putting any of their ARPA money towards it if the town is considering it? And I think my response to that would be the fact that the people who currently live in the village also pay taxes in the town. This has come up in other meetings when we're discussing ARPA money. For instance, when the town select board obligated money to the fire department, someone said, well, how come the village isn't going to give any money to the fire department? And my response was because the people in the village also pay for the fire department. Just thinking out loud of what that conversation might look like.
Yep, good, because we do, there's certain times we go into executive session for certain things, and it's very stringent. We need to be as transparent as possible and talk about everything in the open meeting that we can possibly talk about before we go in and talk dollars and cents on a bid. Just so everybody's clear on that.
Yeah, and one of the exceptions to the open meeting law is contract discussion, contracts and contract negotiations, and it also it's couched in the phrase of with disclosure of this information, put either party at a disadvantage, and I think throwing out the number that was thrown out to me could potentially do that.
It would potentially do that, yes.
I mean, it could potentially jeopardize this committee, and it could jeopardize, another potential bidder, perhaps, or even the potential bidder who threw out this number.
Now a lot of money enough to get us where we need to be, or request additional.
Again, it was a significant range of what the one company will find the number should be. Not only the disparity between the grant money, but the number they threw out was a range, which was, in my opinion, a significant varying numbers.
You have a question?
Yeah, late to the party here, so I don't know what's been done, what's been discussed, but it seems to me like a chicken and egg issue here. I mean, we're looking for the funding and we don't really know yet, do we, what we want to accomplish or what the process is. I don't know what the scope of work is, but from my experience with bidding, you don't have to provide a number. We can put out the scope of work and then see what the numbers come back as, and we can choose whichever one we want that meets that scope of work. So we're trying to figure out how much money we've got, and then we'll put out a bid. That seems a little backwards to me.
So, no, we have a scope of work that we use to obtain the grant money that was already obtained, the $10,500. There is already a match by the town within that, because there's a required match for the municipal planning grant. The town has committed $1,153 to that project. And I can send around the scope of work, or even the contract for the municipal planning grant, if the committee wants it, to show you the detail of what was written. There's a lot of history of why Poultney's at this point. These requests from the voters of both the town and the village, and really what the project is aiming to do. I do think it's worth, I prepared the scope of work based on my experience with planning projects as a consultant to lots of different Vermont municipalities. They weren't merger projects, they were all sorts of different planning projects, but essentially the process for those follows the same format. There's a heavy focus on public engagement and committee meetings. There's 6 committee meetings, which maybe isn't even enough. But there's a kickoff meeting, committee meetings, a draft and final report, which is usually where the bulk of budget ends up. It really should be in writing the product. And then there's 2 community presentations and project management by Paul and I, which was not included. That is in-kind services. So there's no monetary figure attached to that. But I do think it's worth, probably having the committee look at the way the scope of work is written, and if there is, something about it that we can approach in a different way, that would be helpful to do while we're trying to figure out if we can raise more funds for the project. And I think that's the second task too, for probably me and anyone else on the committee that wants to help do that, is to try to identify other grant sources. There are probably a few. They're small, so you're going to end up spending some time with grant writing, but I can think of maybe a couple others off the top of my head.
So we aren't really putting the dollars or the cart before the horse, so to speak, because we have had presentations on the scope of work, and you haven't seen it.
Right.
So we'll have to get those to you.
Okay.
And that money right there, the 11,530, is just a grant that we've received to start.
Yeah.
So when we go out to bid, there's no dollar set amount plus or minus for it.
Okay.
There's no range. But we have to, as a committee, be prepared, put feelers out. What is the range? And if it's all in an upper range, we have to be prepared to have the financing to start this. Do you agree or disagree?
I'm just uncertain. I mean, if we're trying to get a grant to plan the plan, is that?
Well, no, we have.
We got a grant.
We got a grant.
We've got a grant, plan the plan.
Just a couple months.
And why, and I'm just going to play devil's advocate here. Why do we need a consultant to help us plan? Are there other ways of developing our plan? Have we talked to, VLCT and all that? I mean, I know I'm trying to take you backwards, but I'm just trying to understand where we are and what you guys perceive as to the process that we're going to follow.
I think some of the research that Sarah did, some communities didn't have a consultant, and they had, different committee members, and I guess to the best of their ability and knowledge, came up with recommendations. And I think maybe that's why Sarah is suggesting we look at the scope, see if there's some stuff we can come out of the scope that we put the RFP out on, to say, well, maybe this stuff we can handle ourselves. Can we pare it down to a more palatable number that consultant comes in at the time appropriate? I guess that you would hope that whatever the information that this committee and whoever else they solicit to assist is enough information for the consultant to make its conclusions or recommendations.
And write the recommendations, is that correct? So that you guys aren't strapped with writing everything out, and the consultant would take our information, our data, and put it in written form for everybody? Is that?
I mean, like Paul said, I think it was Linden and Lindaville that did not use a consultant for their merger steering committee. I would imagine they divided their steering committee by areas of expertise and, kind of sent those folks to collect certain parts of what would go into a feasibility study. It's an option for the committee to consider if they want to approach the work in that way. I don't think it's a good idea to really have Paul or I drafting any element of the report or even the research.
And that's where we need the consultant.
Or the committee.
Or the committee?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I mean, to me, if the way we were talking about proceeding, kind of makes us rubber stamp. We're gonna hire a consultant to tell us what to do, and then we'll say, yeah.
Oh,
we'll
there's
do
no
that.
rubber stamp. We're trying to figure it out still.
Yeah,
We
I
just
understand
barely-
that, but
We just barely started. All
Yeah.
we did at our last meeting was figure out how big this board was gonna be and who would be on it. Basically, that's it.
yeah.
To which even the size of this board, the trustees and the select board struggle with how big should the committee be? Even, like, shouldn't that be a question that is answered or directed by a consultant? So, that's just an example.
So basically divide into subgroups and certain people in each group has an area of expertise to start researching is what we should be looking at.
It's an
That would
option.
be one option.
Be one option. That's what, let's first get the scope of work to everybody so everybody sees it.
Yeah.
Understand the plan. And from there, in our next meeting, we can decide as a group, do we split in subcommittees or raise the hands of 2 or 3 people that are very good in this aspect, 2 or 3 are good in that, or efficient in that one. And if we want to talk about a consultant towards the end, we'll talk our numbers in executive session and go from there. But for this next meeting, let's get the scope out so that when we all come together, it isn't under a time restraint like we are right now. Because we have a select board meeting and then at 7:30 is the village meeting. And let's do some homework within ourselves, study the scope of work. And if you feel we need to really split up and go into groups, what would the groups be and who would want to be on it? These two are so bare
Exactly.
that we can't have them do all the work. That's why we need to really help and get a lot of this going.
So everyone knows we've got some new folks on the committee. I've done a lot of research. I have a lot of information. I have the merger for Linden and Lindenville, which I found very helpful if you want to read the statute. I can send that to the full committee or just, however we want to do it. But I just want you folks to know that I have a lot of that information already. And I do think it's worthwhile to read that merger because you get an understanding for everything they analyzed. Which is really, the part that we would have to start to talk about if we're going to take some of this into committee rather than having a consultant do it.
So you can send that to all of us on the committee?
Yes.
That's 12 of us. That's homework.
Communities.
That's homework.
that have done this in the
Linden and Lindenville did successfully merge. The village of Lindenville merged into Linden. The city of Essex and town is another 2 municipalities that ended up going in the other direction. They split, and there is one more. Johnson and the village of Johnson have investigated merger for a few years now, and they did a study which did not. They spent approximately $10,000 on a study, which wasn't fully embraced by both of the municipalities. So they are looking at doing a second study. Last I knew.
That answer?
What's your email, Steve? I don't have yours.
my name at life.com. 80 at life.com.
Live, like I'm alive.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So we have homework for the next meeting whenever we set it. We'll set it tonight before we leave. And we'll read everything we can, the merger study, the scope of work, so we all understand it. Because we're just starting. This is just about like day one. And we'll come back, see if we want to split up into groups. If we do, and we'll go into executive session at the end of that meeting and talk dollars if we have to go out to bid. Is everybody okay with that?
How many companies, yeah, but how many companies are people out there that actually do, that we can put this out there for a bid? How many are there? No, Tom?
I mean, no. There's the one that we heard from is a national company, and they were involved in, I believe, at least Johnson's process. But there are,
Maybe a lot of them out there, is there?
no. But I also think that there's other consultants that if the budget is in the right place, they can. You know, a lot of this is public engagement. Some of it is financial analysis and that type of thing. There are other consultants that have expertise in that. If we have the right budget amount, we may have additional bids. We may have any bids.
That answer your question, Steve?
Yeah.
Okay, is everybody okay with doing homework? When are we gonna meet next?
Before we go to that, assigning homework's great. But what do we expect of that homework? I'd like to see, for example, everybody come back with their ideas jotted down of how we might subdivide the committees that we might form, and
That's what,
have a basis for that.
that's what I was saying earlier. Read the scope of work.
Yep.
Read the merger and see what you might be interested in.
But I think we need to make it clear that that's what we want everybody to do. It's not just read the scope
Okay,
of work.
I thought, I'm sorry, I thought I did kind of, maybe you didn't hear.
Yeah, we can't do kind of.
No, okay.
Not to give you a hard time, Jeff.
No
but,
problem.
You know,
no problem.
people walk away and go, oh, I just have to read the scope of work.
Yeah,
And then they come
well,
back.
actually, I
Yeah.
did say, fine, read the scope of work, see what you might be interested in.
Yeah.
There was no kind of, that's okay.
Can we take it a step farther and read the scope of work and come back with suggestions as to how that work might be divided up, what committees, what areas, et cetera? And then I think we could have a good discussion of that after everybody's thought about it. Is that unreasonable?
Nope. Oh, that is not. Is everybody okay with that? Okay. Now we're gonna kind of do that. I'm just kidding you.
I've got time. But
All right. If there isn't any more questions or comments, we'll set the next meeting. What's everybody thinking? Would June 3rd, that Monday, be a good day? There's no select board meeting on June 3rd, no village trustees meeting.
That'll be how long will we expect the meeting to be?
That might be a little lengthy. That might be an hour and a half.
Okay.
To close to 2 hours. Because if we're gonna really discuss what we're gonna be doing
yeah,
and where we're gonna be heading and setting groups, we might be looking at a good hour and a half.
Great.
To 2 at the most. And we will try not to go over 2 hours on these meetings. We can cut it. Is everybody all right with that?
We set a time at 6 o'clock.
6.
5 o'clock.
6 o'clock, good for everyone. I hear a yes from everybody. 6 o'clock on June 3rd. Okay? Thank you very much. And if we do miss stuff as we go along, like, send it, please speak up so that we can make sure we get it correct. All right? We're all here to work together for the same cause, same thing. It's for the town and village of Poultney.
amen.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So then,
Do I hear a second? Any comments or questions by the board? All in favor? Motion, all right, motion to adjourn is approved. Okay, you guys,
That was fun.
thank you.
Back here.
Yeah.
Two, call the meeting to order. And again, we start meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll move right along tonight because there is a village meeting at 7:30 here. Okay, right here, a motion to adopt tonight's agenda. Any comments or questions by the board? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Approval of minutes of 4/22/24. They were emailed to us. Has everybody read them? If so, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of 4/22/24?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of 4/22/24.
I'll second. You second, Valerie second. Any comments or questions by the board? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. On to the road report.
We're making our way around town grading all the roads, getting their first pass, first good cut of the year. We completed majority of our storm cleanup from the last couple winter storms there that we got hammered on. And then we'll be working on our, we also replaced a couple of culverts and we have a couple more to replace. And then we'll be picking up with our MRGP work, getting that finished and hopefully getting into Lewis Road. But things keep popping up unexpectedly and keeps delaying the whole entire process between that and the weather.
Let's get as much as the Lewis Road as you can done throughout the summer.
Yeah, absolutely. Other than that, I really have nothing big to discuss.
Okay.
Main Street looks great.
What's up?
Main Street looks great.
Oh. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody hear any more news or anything on potential of changing locations or the building where we're at with the building?
That's one of our top priorities.
The MERP reports are in.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to review them. I don't doubt Paul has either. So we're kind of in the process of putting together funding options, and there's a few others that have been identified. But at this point, that's where we're working.
Fair enough.
We are on it.
Yeah. That's all I've got. If anybody's got any questions, comments, or concerns,
Does anybody have any questions?
I would add that, last week we, had a civil engineer look at, the retaining wall issue on Blissville Road that I think maybe all of you may or may not be aware of. It was a repair that the town highway department did, I don't know, by some accounts, 15 or more years ago. That's appearing to fail, and the property owner that this is next to has been asking the town to address it for several years. I thought it prudent to engage the assistance of a civil engineer so that hopefully we can find a repair that's going to be lasting. In the same vein, we asked the engineer to review the sections of Upper Road that we've had concerns about. And the engineer is going to put together a couple suggestions / proposals that we're going to hopefully be able to put together a long-term plan for that. I think that's going to be a huge project.
I would agree.
What was that one? Upper Road. Upper Road. That's where it comes down, right?
Yeah.
That there will have to also in October start a budgeting process and see where we stand with, if we can by then, see where we are with funding so that we can budget accordingly to cover that project, even though it is going to be a big one. Okay? Keep that in mind. Get to that point. October will be here in the blink of an eye. I know the leaves just barely came out of the tree. It's not going to be going away either pretty quick. Anything else, Paul?
No, I don't think so.
I think the crew,
Will do.
they've got some nice trees. I know they're the best trees, so it's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tried to use the opportunity of going such a long distance for the storm cleanup to do some much needed work while we were right there. It made more sense to do it that way than it did to come back, so.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Community development.
I would also, I would note that, I think this happens to some extent every year in the spring. And sometimes the highway department, I guess, deals with it in silence, but because every year the education of the public is to the road right of way and what the town highway department can and can't do in the road right of way. I'm talking particularly about ditching, removing dangerous trees along the road right away, in the road right away, and plow damage in the road right away. So I think it's, worth mentioning on public record that we do our best to accommodate the public, but we also have to maintain the roads properly. So I just thought that might make sense to put on the record.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
okay. On to community development.
So I'm just going to go through a list really quickly, and feel free to stop me or ask me questions at the end. Just an update of the work that I've been doing for the past few weeks since the Selectboard met last. The Newtown website launched on March 24th. I've heard from one person so far with some preliminary feedback and ways to, make some improvements. We'll continue to work on it. There is a news feature that we've started using more readily to provide current information about events that are related to the municipality. Anything that goes on that website will be within that framework, only related to the municipality. We're both learning how to use it, so bear with us. Green Up Day was on May 4th, and that was very successful. Jeremy, the Lake St. Catherine Association, did a lot to promote that in Poultney, as they have in the past few years. So we had approximately 175 people participating because of the Poultney High School going out on Friday afternoon. They had about 125 students that went out and took care of quite a lot of the village. So we thank them. That was very helpful. A little bit about marketing and promotion. I attended the Vermont Gear Makers Festival in Stowe on April 27th to network around outdoor recreation and meet some new startup businesses. Very interesting day, and it was worth my time up there. Tomorrow I am headed to New Hampshire. Poultney was invited to participate in the Northern Forest Outdoor Recreation Symposium, which is a New England symposium. It's Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and New York. It's a networking and educational event. So we were invited to participate as a follow-up to the Recreation Economy for Rural Communities project that we did in 2021. And again, this is education about economics related to outdoor recreation, and it's marketing for us. So I will be there for the next 2 days. I've also been working quite a bit on 4th of July planning with the Chamber and with Cheryl, thank you, and Fire Department and the town office, town staff. So that's well underway. I'll have some promotion about that before the end of the week. And then the last thing that I did last week was review the local hazard mitigation plan because I will be writing some grants for emergency shelter generators. And I have to say that I was pretty impressed with the amount of projects that were implemented from that plan. It hasn't expired yet, I think maybe next year, but Poultney's done a lot of projects that they set out to do. So
Now, the emergency generators, is that for senior center, high school?
It's for the 2 high schools I have bids for.
The 2 high schools?
Sorry, the high school and the elementary school I have bids for. And then I am starting there, and I will move to the senior center next.
We have 2 bids for the senior center, and I've got to call in.
Excuse me, when you say bids, you mean 2 estimates?
Sorry, yes.
Yeah, estimates.
Yes.
I have two estimates for the senior center, and I'm actively trying to get a hold of another company for them to give us a bid or an estimate on it too, so we would have 3 there.
Okay, there is, in the middle of June, I don't remember which program it is, but there is a grant that can fund generators for emergency shelters.
Good. They'll have all the food in there.
That's my report.
Okay.
Sarah?
Anything for Sarah? Does anybody have anything for Sarah?
Well, the website looks great.
Yes, it does.
I got a call today, and I know you probably heard about it from Betsy. from a gentleman that wanted to change it from Poultney to Poultney.gov.
They're doing their due diligence. The state digital services monitors and holds the a .gov domain name registration. So we've already switched to that domain name registration, and now that I'm assuming they're calling the town clerk to make sure that that wasn't done as spam or inaccurately.
Yeah, see, I didn't know this. I told them don't do it until I came down and talked to Paul and Betsy. And as I didn't know if it was a scam or what.
Yeah, no,
We could end up in limbo.
yeah, no, sorry about that.
No, that's fine, that's fine. That's fine. All right, any questions?
So, did you find out about the minute meeting for the vehicle?
I did ask the question of the website developer, and they told me that everything that was on the previous site was transferred to the new site. So that's the information I have.
Interesting.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. On to the town manager's report. I see we have Slate Valley Trails here.
Great, see you. That's great.
Hello.
Congratulations.
Do you want to start with that?
Yeah, go ahead, sure.
Want to do our little spiel?
Yeah.
Okay. We can do that. Greg.
Want to introduce yourselves?
Sure.
Are we standing or are we sitting?
Oh, can we sit? How formal?
You can sit, you can do anything you wish.
This seems like a nice chill group. Okay.
Don't let us fool you.
Yeah, right.
The women
We're gonna
bite.
attack. Right, yeah, that's true. I understand that. Let me just share my screen. That's gonna...
Well-attended meetings down here. When we got that place, but I think it's well-attended meeting. Okay, that's what we said.
It was a good meeting, and the Clock and Cafe doing the food at the golf course now is very good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
Lovely, yeah.
Yeah, the food is good down there.
Yeah.
So I'm Courtney.
And I'm Greg.
And I am the Director of Operations for Slate Valley Trails. Greg is our president. I'm just screen like using this.
All right. Yeah. So my name's Greg O'Brien. I'm the president for the board of Slate Valley Trails. And as Courtney said, she's the director of operations. And last year, Chris and Courtney were here to give a presentation after our strategic planning. And so we're here this year to give a little update about what's happened in the past year and what we're looking at for the year ahead. I'll just run through our mission, our board, our staff, review of 2023, and what to look forward to this year.
And feel free to interrupt and ask questions as we go through, like totally, if you think of something, you can shout it out.
Also, the stated mission of Slate Valley Trails is to build, maintain, and promote foot and bicycling trails in the Slate Valley region of southwestern Vermont. And that is kind of supported by 3 pillars for Slate Valley Trails. Community engagement, so supporting the local economy, supporting the local community, supporting the local economy is the second pillar, and then promoting outdoor recreation. And all of it just focused on bringing people to the area and helping, promote the recreation that this area has and that we're lucky to have with the trails in our backyard. Slate Valley Trails was started in 2015, so this is the 9th year of the organization, pretty much grown from a couple miles of trails to over 50 miles of trails that span the towns of Poultney and Wells. And this is all really due to landowners, members of Slate Valley Trails, volunteers, donors, business donors, and the towns of Poultney and Wells helping accomplish this mission.
Do you have a lot of landowners now? Because before it was only like the Conine, so there are a lot of landowners now. Like,
I wouldn't say like when we compare our chapter to like how other chapters, they have hundreds, and like Kingdom Trails has so many different landowners involved. So, but we do have at least 20 at this point. Yeah. So along the Poultney River Loop and Howe Hill, like it all does add up. And we did just acquire some new landowner agreements to do another connection. So
all the landowners, did I hear this right through the grapevine? That all the landowners did sign off, so, for like liability through insurances and stuff, so that's all covered now?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so VIMBA really helps us with all of that. They like it's really good to have them as our sort of mother chapter, take care of us in that way.
I was happy to hear that.
A point of clarification though, what are you saying when you say did all the landowners? What are we talking about?
Permission to go on to their property, correct?
Correct. Yeah, so we have a small section of trail on our property in Wells that's connected to the Delaney Woods property. And so about, 5 years or so ago, we signed a landowner agreement, and it's very similar to the VAST agreement. So the Snowmobile Association's agreement throughout Vermont. And basically, the landowner is, so my understanding when I signed it, is the landowner is covered through Vermont Mountain Bike Association's insurance. And as far as liability, if anything does come up, Vermont Mountain Biking Association will support the landowner in dealing with that. But it is in a written contract. And liability-wise, personally, I have no fears of running into trouble with that.
I think I was just asking for clarification.
Yeah, no, that's good because he clarified it.
But you were also peripherally involved with trying to connect the trails in East Poultney to the village. And I don't know if that's what you were referring to, but you've heard that they were all secure.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the Little Thrall Road connection, is that the one you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. So we do have those 3 landowners. We have permissions.
That's what I was getting to. You're right, Mom.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I was happy to hear that.
Sorry, I took it off on a tangent then.
That's fine, because the more you explain, the more people understand.
I think that is a big sticking point for a lot of landowners. And like
yes, it
one
was.
thing we do is that we're trying to do really well is like, let's have a conversation and talk about this, like, because what is it in, what's in for the landowner? You know, like, well, this is just a liability for me at this point, but really you're covered and you're protected and you're offering this really amazing community.
And when did this start? How many years ago?
9 years ago.
Yeah. It's taken a while.
Yeah. So 10 year, and
they're growing too.
And pretty rapid compared to other trail. Like we have almost 60 miles of trail actually. So in 10 years, that's kind of unheard of. Like it's a lot of trail.
Yeah.
But imagine 10 years from now. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive when you hear about people in other parts of the state that are coming here because they have trails, and for us, we're like, oh, it's just in our backyard, this is what we're used to, and other people kind of help put it in perspective of the scope of the trail network here in Poultney.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's been neat. So this is the board of directors for Slate Valley Trails. There's 13 members on the board of directors right now. 2 of them are youth members, so Finn and Zenon.
It's nice to see they started as bikers and now they're on the board. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so Finn is currently a sophomore, going to be a junior next year, and Zenon's currently a junior, going to be a senior next year. And they'll serve 1-year terms as youth members. And it's 2 benefits. A benefit for them because they're getting exposure to being on a board and getting community service, and a benefit to Slate Valley Trails to have 2 youth members now providing input and kind of sharing their perspective. And it'll be interesting to see what they say and what they bring up.
That's good.
Yeah, we are like really gung-ho with supporting, like getting our youth programming just expanding as much as we can. So having these guys who have gone through like the bike camp with Poultney Rec and have been counselors and trailblazers and like have their ideas and be able to share is really important.
I know we had discussions for activities for young people last fall when we had some problems. And we did receive, the school received a $7,000 or $7,500 grant. And, I think it's Katrin is going to
Yeah,
use that
Adrian and myself are doing that. I just came from bike club right now, actually.
and do the bike club.
Yep, I'm dirty. I brought clothes and I rent my bike back here to get here after that.
And I think that's fantastic. It's very good. But you're teaching them mechanical, you're teaching them everything.
Yep, taking them on the trails, teaching them mechanics, teaching them how to mountain bike.
Yep.
2 have never mountain biked before, so they're made. It's so fun.
They have access to bikes that they don't have one, which is great. That's
Right,
big.
Katrin's doing a good thing.
Yeah.
So you don't mean to.
I know we were gonna get into that.
No, I think, the youth aspect is critical to the growth, the trails and, the town in general, if we can support the youth for the future. So the more we can get them out there, it's pretty awesome. So Slate Valley Trails started as all volunteers, and in the last handful of years, we've added a staff person, and now there's 4 staff people with Slate Valley Trails. Courtney here, Director of Operations. She's a rock star. She's totally transformed what Slate Valley Trails has been able to accomplish in the past couple of years. It makes an incredible difference to have a full-time staff person, and a good one at that. And then Harry, he's our trails manager. This is his 2nd year working for Slate Valley Trails. Last year he was basically did trails maintenance, and this year, he wants to show growth and opportunity. So he's now a trails manager. He has additional hours, basically working March through November, right, Courtney?
Almost year round.
Almost May through April, end of April through November. Yeah.
And then John Moody and Dan, they're both part-time maintenance crew. So John was going to be a full-time maintenance crew member, but him and his wife just had a baby. So understandably, he said, hey, I cannot commit to the full hours for the year. So Dan, he was working at Analog Cycles, and the opportunity came up for him to take on a trail maintenance crew position with Slate Valley Trails. And so both of them are going to split time. And, just a cool way where Dan had come to Poultney to work at Analog Cycles, and now he's sticking around Poultney to work for SVT this summer. So neat to see that impact that small organizations can have, and the trails can have to support the community and the economy. Yeah, jobs.
Okay, so this is my turn. In 2023, we were super excited. As Greg said, we were able to expand our professional maintenance program, and we sort of realized after all that rain last year that rain is definitely the enemy of trail, and our trails are super sustainably built, but it doesn't mean that they're not going to need some extra attention in years to come, not knowing what these weather patterns are going to do. So that sort of really taught us we need to invest in this. We want people to come here. We want the trails to be world class. We want them to be the best. And that is sort of our reputation right now, is we have really well-maintained trails. And I've been riding around Vermont. I'm still new to mountain biking. I'm 5 years in, but I've been sort of exploring other trail networks. And this was the first one I've ever ridden. So I was kind of spoiled because I've gone other places. I'm like, oh, we have something really special here. So we are investing in that, and we were able to start that in 2023. We did get landowner agreements for the town to trails connection. That is, we're calling it the Thrall Road connection. It will start off of New England State. So that's super, super exciting. We also took the Dean Osborne Preserve under our wing. So Bill has been, he's still very much involved, and he's sort of taking our hand and guiding us with what he wants to happen over there, but he just doesn't want to have to maintain it, and we want to be able to promote it as a hiking destination, so it's a good partnership.
Where is that?
On Ellisbrook Road.
Okay, is that on? Okay, and you go up real high.
Yeah, it's one of the best views of Lake St. Catherine.
Yeah, I needed a defibrillator to get up in there.
It's amazing. Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing we can do is do that.
Oh, yeah, my wife. We're going that way. Oh. Yeah, I know right where that is.
That's my husband. We also did pay for some contract works we did some upgrades on a trail called Big Top and High Roller. So those have been within the system for, I guess, 8 years now, and they needed a little bit of extra work. So that would be Hardy going out with his machine, and that's some work that our maintenance guys they can't really do, but we are, of course, we'll pay for that. We did increase our memberships, which is exciting. We're at 302 memberships, and a membership includes like a family too. So it's not necessarily members. A membership is like if me and my husband, that's a membership. But if I had 2 kids, that would be a member. Like 4 people could be included in one membership. So really, there's a lot more members. 38 business sponsors, which is we topped our membership and our business sponsors this year, and we also expanded our community engagement, which means we're trying to really just show up. This is a part of our community engagement, like coming here and talking to you guys and talking to the Selectboard and going to the Rotary and going to being a part of the chili cook-off and trying to be a part of the 4th of July, just trying to make sure that we are, seen as a valuable, I guess, entity in town and trying to, give back as well. So this is what we shared with you all last year. These are the priorities that we have 5 goals. So I just wanted to share that again, that this is our North Star. We're always trying to come back to these goals to make sure, and we're checking in on these consistently. So we also had 50 kids participate in our summer youth programs last year. We're hoping for more kids this year, and Cheryl and I have been talking, so super excited that we're actually going to offer a full day this year, which is so fun. I can't wait. 9 to 2 with little kids biking all day in the woods. It's going to be amazing. Hopefully no accidents. It's probably going to happen. That's okay. But we blew our annual appeal out of the water. So we had this goal. I think our goal was 20,000. We had a stretch goal, maybe 25. I don't remember, but we did really well. And that's really exciting to see. Some big donors came through. And when I reached out to them, I said, I'm just curious, I've never met you. And I know this one guy's from Kentucky, and he said he grew up here in this area. And when he comes back to go to the lake and just visit family, he's just so excited about what he's seeing in Poultney. So I was like, thank you. That's amazing. We added 3 new benches along the Poultney River Loop, and that was made possible with a grant. We worked with the Eagle Scout Troop with that project. We did host our first annual landowner and volunteer appreciation dinner. So really important for us to make sure we show gratitude towards our landowners and our volunteers, and make sure they realize how important they are. We are not a 100% volunteer organization anymore, but that's still really, really a key part of what we're doing. We have professional staff, but we still rely on our volunteers very heavily. 13,000 trail visits. So we average about 15,000 each year. And so 13,000 is actually a little bit lower, which is interesting to see the data related to when all that rain came in. People were off the trails. So and they weren't riding them. We actually had to close the trails for 3 days, which is unheard of. And we normally would not do that. People plan their trips to come here, and us closing is really not what we want to do, but we had to because we had some damage that we had to take care of due to all that rain. Was there any question? I know I kind of flew through, but is there any thoughts, or before I pass it back to Greg?
I just want to make a comment. A lot of your trails are great for bird watching.
Oh,
too.
yes.
It is fantastic.
Yes. Do you go with Joel's group?
I've been with Joel's group.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's important to remember, we don't want I think some people think of trails as in these hardcore mountain bike shredders, and that's so not what we want our ethos to be. We're trails for everybody, hiking, biking, go spot mushrooms, just go be out in the woods,
Yeah. Bird watching.
And bird watching.
All right, so we can quickly go through just the finances of the chapter. I think our treasurer would do a much more thorough explanation of this than I'm going to do. But the 2 charts on the top left, they just kind of show the steady growth that Slate Valley Trails has had over the last, 9 years or so, memberships. So starting, the dollars is correlated to the number of memberships sold, of course. Last 2 years, we've kind of leveled out at that 300 or so members. Last year, just surpassing 300 memberships. The year before was like 290 something. So it'll be interesting to see how this year goes, how much more we can grow in terms of membership sales and donations. The really cool thing here is that this is community donations. So just showing the increased support of the community members that want to see Slate Valley Trails continue to do what they're doing.
That's impressive.
Yeah, so close to, that's what's that about $37,000 in donations from community members. And then in the lower right, you see business sponsorships. That's Poultney businesses and businesses that are donating to Slate Valley Trails. And they get some benefits from that as well. Little exposure on emails and on the website. But really, they're donating because they believe in what Slate Valley Trails is doing for the community and bringing people to the town. The grants and foundation support, we had a spike a couple years ago, kind of leveled off the last 2 years.
It's going to spike again for 2024. We have a lot of grants this year.
And so that's kind of a new target for the organization, is to pursue more grants, because there's money out there, and the more money we can bring in grants, the more we can
A lot
do.
of recreation money.
Exactly.
Yeah. The donations are interesting too, because they're like small donations, but we're getting a lot. Like, we're getting more and more each year. It'll be like a $20 donation here and $100 here, and they just start adding up. It's really cool to see.
And then the fundraising events. There's two main fundraising events: the Scramble, which is a trail run race. So there's an 8K and a half marathon. And then the Slate Valley Trails Epic, which is a 40-mile bike race. Two very different events, but both play significant roles in generating income for the Slate Valley Trails. And that'll probably stay, fundraising events will probably stay about that, because right now the organization has capacity to put on two big events. Maybe there'll be a third someday, but it's just a matter of having capacity and the person power to make it happen. So quick look at this one. We can see that on the left are the sources of funding for Slate Valley Trails. We've kind of covered them all: memberships, donations, grants, and foundation support, business sponsors, really being the bulk of everything. Fundraising events, about 20%, and then we sell some merch, so some hats, some shirts, but a very small portion of generating income. And then on the right, about 50%, well, 50% exactly of the income goes right back into the trails and facilities. So that's the trail systems themselves, as well as your maps, your trailhead, kiosks, wayfinding, professional maintenance is a big part of that. And then the other 50% is going to outreach, putting on events, office and administration. So I do know we have an office right there on Main Street. And then fundraising and promotion, so getting the word out. And kind of, Town of Poultney was talking about their new website. Slate Valley Trails is also going to have a new website, grant funded for about 75% of it. And then hopefully that helps, just bring more people and
More marketing.
Exactly.
It's also like a good way for us to promote Poultney too. Like, we see it as like a sort of like us working together. We're going to have a page that's where to shop, where to eat, like where should you go, like what do we recommend in this area. So just helping each other,
Yep. Very good.
Yeah, we can skip this. And then so the treasurer talked about this at our annual meeting over the weekend, but basically just banking with Heritage Family Credit Union as a local establishment to keep dollars in the community rather than working with a large bank.
So we did sort of get into this a little bit already, but quickly we are updating all of the wayfinding throughout the system. So it's going to be a little bit easier. We're going to create paper maps, something people really want as they want to kind of unplug and not be on their phone, and being able to have maps at local establishments that people can get out on the trail and know where they're going is a huge thing. So we do have new kiosk designs. We have slate, the little informational slate tiles. This is really cool. I think hopefully it pops up. So these are printed on slate tiles that give everybody like our kiosk information. So these were harvested in Poultney too. So from New England slate, these are going to be neat. So that's really exciting to see that that's coming together. The I guess we can say the trails are kind of finalized at this point. Now we're just adding enhancements, and but the main heart of the system will be on these new maps. We're going to continue to grow a professional maintenance program, and then we're going to really be working on those town to trails connections. We do want to get people from town to the trails. We want to get people from the trails to town to shop and to eat and to hang out. And we have some pending grant funding to see. We're still waiting on a couple, see what happens with that.
Very good.
Yeah, super exciting. And then more community outreach, of course. Grant funding, like I said, and Greg mentioned that we are redesigning the website, enhancing our summer youth programming, and Delaney Woods, we're doing some major improvements over there right now too. So these are some big goals for us. That's it. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Really appreciate the time. I know there's like a lot to squeeze in, and y'all are doing awesome work, so we appreciate it.
Well, you guys are doing awesome work. That helps this community grow in quite a way. Outdoor recreation is what this state's starting to really fall into.
Yep.
And hopefully with everything that's going on around, there might be some hotels or something opening up too. So yeah,
I could see that being amazing.
Yeah. Near future.
Yep.
See how it goes.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for all you
Anybody
do.
have any questions for us, everybody? Thank you so much.
Yeah.
The update was very good.
Good. Please reach out with if there's any way we can support, what you guys are doing. Please let us know.
Thank you very much, you guys.
Thank you.
Okay, on to liquor license. Oh, hey, we got outdoor rec, and now we got liquor license.
They go together.
So there's two applications. One is the renewal of Wellback Vineyards outside consumption. And then there's a new one. Someone's in negotiations to reopen the Full Belly Deli. So the application for the beer and wine section is in front of this board. So those are the two applications we have.
Do I hear a motion to approve the Whaleback and the Full Belly Deli?
When you say beer and wine, it means it's not liquor, it's just beer and wine. Is that how that works?
The way I understand it, they have applied or are going to apply to try to get the liquor license back in that location. But that's the Department of Liquor Control that approves or denies those applications.
I think it's up to us to figure out the quality of the people that are trying to do that. I have no idea. Trying to do it.
Who's trying to put reestablish the
right? Yes.
Yeah, people, I don't get it.
What do you mean?
What I mean, are they reputable people?
Are you going to?
Alan, we know Alan doesn't buy money. And we know the other people.
Do I really? I think I have to just stay.
I think that right there is a business that's trying to open, and they're trying to get, whether they're reputable or not, I don't think it's up to us to decide.
I don't think I could. Like it's like,
yeah, I don't think that's.
So that's what this board.
We're not enforcing board if they're breaking liquor control laws either. That'll be decided by
be decided by police.
Is Mark just talking about background checks?
Yeah,
Is that what you're asking about?
background checks, right, credibility.
I don't know how I would judge that.
Why
I'm not an
do,
investigator.
my question is, why do we need to do a background check on a business that's coming into Poultney?
The liquor license.
It's not a liquor license, that's just beer and wine. The liquor license goes through the state of Vermont. We do not control liquor license.
We approve.
I mean, we
Not
approved the
liquor.
beer and wine.
Beer and wine.
License.
Not liquor.
So I honestly, I don't know, what the state does as far as background checks for the beer, wine, or the liquor, license. So I don't know what their criteria is.
Process with a lot of paperwork, a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
They're very strategic because I know if you don't follow it, you don't have a liquor license anymore. I know what's happened, so I know it's something.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
it's just,
obviously.
again, it's a new
Yeah.
application for a beer and wine.
Okay.
So I don't know. I don't know. In my experience, being a manager, I think this is the first time I can recall it being questioned in a meeting whether or not this board should determine who to approve a license to based on their reputation, or coming to a conclusion of somebody's credibility and or.
I don't think that's this board's decision to make. I think we decide whether to approve a liquor or a beer and wine license, and that's up to the state of Vermont to approve the liquor license. Do I hear a motion to approve the beer and wine, Full Belly Deli, or the new owners of that Full Belly Deli and
I mean, I think you probably should make two. I don't know if you plan to abstain from the bill back.
I'll make a motion to approve the Full Belly Deli liquor license.
I'll make a motion to approve, Wellback.
And do I hear a second on the Wellback?
I'll second.
Any comments or questions by the board on either? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Approval of both.
Being active.
Anything else?
There was a lot, two contractual matters I'd like to give the board an update on in executive session. I know we don't have a lot of time between the next meeting that I'm going to be part of, but.
Can we set, well, we don't have, we gotta do.
Oh, yeah, sorry, there was another thing. The May 27th, which is our next regular meeting, is Memorial Day. Well, I didn't know if the board wanted to have their meet on the 20th instead of on Memorial Day.
The 20th would be a good day to meet instead of Memorial Day. The 20th, we're going to need some lengthy executive sessions. There's personnel matters and litigation that we have to go into executive session for on the 20th, and it could take some time. 20th good?
So 13th to 20th.
13th is today, next Monday.
3 Mondays.
Not 3 Mondays.
We have the meeting.
We have the merger meeting on the 3rd, 27th off.
So it's 3 Mondays.
No,
Is that the 3rd, the 13th, and the 20th?
13th, 20th,
You're in May,
27th.
honey.
Yeah, we got today, or the 20th, and we don't go until the
Also,
3rd.
the 3rd is
of
6th,
June.
7th. Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Is that all right with everyone?
So on Mondays.
So we'll switch it to Monday, the 20th. Our regularly scheduled board meeting will go from the 27th Memorial Day to the 20th.
I think the two contract things can wait until the 20th.
Till the 20th? Okay. Rutland Regional Planning Commission?
There is no update. Wasn't able to attend the last TAC meeting.
Okay.
We don't have an update.
Public comments and concerns. Is there any public comments and concerns tonight? Jonathan?
I just want to make a couple mentions. I interrupted about the Main Street thing, and just for the public record, the crew did a great job of taking care of the damage that was done by the taking care of the sidewalk over the winter, and they made it look great, and they saved the homeowners tons of hours of going out and raking and shoveling off the overgrowth that impeded into the sidewalk that they would have had to go back and do, and I just think that they deserve.
That's the village, correct?
No.
No, that's the town.
All the way down to East Poultney. They were.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. All
I
right.
think he was out
Okay,
there
gotcha.
running the tractor. It was, and it looked like a thankless task, but it definitely, looking across the street from it and tripping over it as I'm walking up and down the street. Y'all are awesome. The website looks great. I want to throw that out there, and it works really well, which is even better. Hooray for the new sign, and for all the people that followed up on it to get it taken care of, and for whoever changed it to where it's visible. Double hooray. And yeah, I just wanted to lend a small voice of support to Mark's question, in that I don't know what the select board's role is in preserving the, and it's this sticky territory because it sounds an awful lot like exclusionism, but we do want to make sure that when we're dealing with vice product, that we make sure that the character of the town is preserved. And coming from deep inner city places where the places where they sell beer and wine can be high end, or they can be a thing that brings that area of the neighborhood down. I appreciate you putting it out there in the face of uncertain questioning that didn't quite get maybe where you were coming from. And I encourage you to continue to pose those questions. I don't know what the scope of the board is, and sometimes it's just yay or nay, and y'all are directed to do it a certain way. But I also appreciate somebody trying to keep things that would bring down property values and the quality of life, and that which everybody, including the Site Board, is working towards bringing to us. It's easy for that stuff to slip in if you're not attentive to it, and I appreciate you paying attention to it.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. Mary?
Ditto everything that Jonathan just said. I was just wondering, again, looking at the beautiful new website, I noticed that there's fireworks display permits, and there's two of them, and I never knew about them. It's public fireworks display checklist and a municipal fireworks display permit. Who would need those, and when, and how, and all that fun stuff?
So if anybody in the town or the village, including the town, when they do their fireworks display, want to do a fireworks display in the community, they have to file who's doing it, who's setting up the fireworks, what licenses do they have, what plan do they have as far as perimeter for the public safety, what plan they have for cleanup after the fireworks display. It's reviewed by the fire department and the town manager's office. And if they can meet all the things that are required, they're granted a fireworks display. From time to time, people do contact me and or the fire department and say, hey, we're getting married and we want to set off a bunch of fireworks to celebrate our marriage. And our first question is, who's doing it? Are they insured? Are they licensed? And if they are not, the town does not give them a permit. Now, that's not to say that someone sneaks off and does 15 minutes or 20 minutes worth of fireworks and, all the law is going to be on them, but it's not sanctioned by the town. So I don't know if that answered your question.
No, that's pretty good. I was just curious about that because I'd never seen these before. So
Does that answer both of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I just have one more quick question. What's the status of the updated dog ordinance? It's talked about a while ago.
We haven't even started it.
looked at a few.
I mean, I've given the board my research and there's been no direction in that.
Yeah, we haven't even put that on the agenda, Mary, so we're bringing that up. We'll have to get that on the agenda.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting.
Yeah, we'll have to get that on the agenda. Sometimes, as you know, we do get kind of very busy and some things do slip through the cracks. So thanks for bringing that up. We'll get that back on the agenda.
Great, thank you.
Anything else? Do I hear a motion to approve the board orders? Do I hear a second? Any comments or questions by the board? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Now the big question. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a second? Any comments or questions? All in favor? Any opposed? We're done. Thank you, everyone.